Are we sponsored by Coca-Cola now?
No, but I invest in them, so I want to make sure they know that.
I'm sure they need your pennies.
Pennies.
Are we ready, Taylor?
Good to go.
All right, we're back.
We're live?
We're alive.
Alive and kicking.
We're back for the third episode of Another Dimension. I'm Quinn Cleese.
I'm Trask Noble, and we also have our newest member of the team here, Taylor. For those of you that tuned in last week, we offered him a job live, and he didn't fire us. He's here.
He accepted.
Taylor, what do you got to say?
Happy to be here.
Nice.
It's only day 2.
Yeah, it's day 2. We didn't pay him to say that either.
Right. So, brief explanation of what's happening in this episode. We're going to talk about some winter driving techniques and tips. We might have a few stories. We might have a guest. We'll see
if he calls back.
He's working. So, anything from last episode besides Taylor? I think that's.
Yeah, I didn't see any other questions submitted. We had a bunch of new views and subscribers, so thank you guys. I shouldn't say a bunch. It's a bunch to us, but
it's more than one.
Yeah, more than one, less than 1,000. I can say that. That's probably pretty accurate. But other than that, we're getting the ball rolling. So thank you guys. It means a lot. It's a lot of fun to do these things, and we'll keep doing them until
the wheels fall off.
Yeah, or until they don't turn fun anymore. Tell you guys.
You're not allowed.
Right.
Yeah.
Taylor's been pushing us, and thanks, Taylor.
Yeah.
Definitely outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah. So what's happening at Quick Transport right now this week? We're kicking off 2021, busier than ever. I would say the last probably quarter has been pretty busy industry-wide, especially Flatbed World. But it's definitely the busiest, probably 2-month span we've had ever.
Probably ever.
We're
booked.
Full, and a lot of people are seeing that same thing. And in my opinion, it's got a little bit to do with the election. It's got a little bit to do with coronavirus. It's got a little bit to do with end of year. I know it's not a lot of companies' fiscal end of year, but they're getting stuff off the books for next year. And just overall capacity. A lot of flatbed carriers went to vans when there was the toilet paper push of 2019, and they really are still riding that wave.
Yeah. Well, I think we owe it to some people here too.
Absolutely.
I mean, Dave's out doing his job.
Yep.
Getting us customers and the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
wouldn't have customers if it wasn't for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to everybody involved. So
to hit on that, we're still hiring. We're looking for some internal office help. We're obviously looking for drivers, and internally looking for an operations assistant, kind of like a hybrid floater position. And we're also looking for possibly a freight broker.
Yep.
Last week we did our first contest. The question was, in what city do we rent our wind blade trailers from?
Which state? Yep.
Which state? Yeah, sorry. We received a couple submissions. The winner of last week's contest was Jeff Bushberger. Jeff, reach out to us. We'll have to get some information, some address and that kind of stuff, and we'll get you your prize sent out.
Jeff's a long-time friend. Worked together. It wasn't rigged, Jeff. You want it fair and square. But thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Jeff's a great guy, hard worker. Works he's a driver.
Yeah.
Works for a different company. And we're happy for him. I think he's got a pretty good fit, and glad that he listened.
Yeah, so. And happy. I mean, he's one of our biggest fans on our social media platforms.
Good friend.
So thanks, Jeff. Speaking of social media, we also ran our last holiday contest. Eric Panzier, sorry if I pronounced that last name wrong,
that's right.
Won the last contest that we were running. And be on the lookout, Eric. I think it went out in the mail either today or is going out tomorrow, your package. So once you get it, make sure to take a photo of it, share it on our page. That'll be cool to see. Hope you enjoy it. Moving on to our question for this week's episode. You want to handle that, or do you want me to?
Sure, I think I can read your writing. The question for this week's episode is, which natural disaster did quick transport drivers deliver to? And we talked about it in the last episode. It was a few years back. So again, which natural disaster did quick drivers deliver to?
Once you listen to this episode, make sure to send in your answers to our Facebook page. Share the episode, subscribe, do what you guys are doing. Like I said, we can't thank you guys enough.
We wanted to add in this week, and we'll probably do this going forward, but we sometimes take for it's nice to have Taylor here.
Yep.
Because no offense, Taylor, you don't know anything about trucking. And so Taylor will ask us these questions that we sometimes take for granted.
Sometimes we look at them and we're like, are you kidding?
Yeah, but these
You
are
don't know what a
some
semi is?
but we take just words of the trade, and everybody's got them. But so we're just going to take two pretty basic common terms this week and define them. The first one is bobtail. And what bobtail means is your truck or tractor, your semi-truck, going down the road without a trailer. That's what bobtailing means.
Why would someone be bobtailing?
To go pick up a trailer, to take their truck to the
Going
shop,
home.
going home, taking their grandkids for a ride.
Okay. Shops got done working on it. They're taking it for a test drive. Okay.
The second term would be deadhead. And what deadhead is, I refer to it as bounce sometimes, and the trailer's bouncing empty. But deadhead is where you are with a truck and trailer, not loaded or unladen, which is another term, unladen, not loaded, not getting paid for those miles. They're empty miles. So if you deliver in Chicago, Illinois, and you need to go to St. Louis, Missouri to pick up your next load,
Which we hope never happens.
which we better never do,
Yeah.
we would go there empty, and that would be deadhead miles. They're unpaid miles.
The miles from Chicago to St. Louis.
Correct.
Then once he gets loaded in St. Louis and goes to, let's say,
Salt Lake City,
Salt Lake City, those are loaded miles. That's not deadhead.
laden.
Laden. Then he could have another set of deadhead miles from Salt Lake City back to North Dakota, where he grabs his load to come back home.
Right. And how we use it, we monitor our deadhead miles, and we want that to be under 10%.
Yep.
So so 90% of the miles that we drive, we're
For the
getting
fleet.
paid for the fleet. We're getting paid for, and the 10% is basically a cost of doing business.
Yep. In different industries, and what I mean by that in regards to that term are refrigerated, van, flatbed, heavy haul, are all going to have different levels of deadhead or thresholds of deadhead that are acceptable. The van and the reefer market, where it's pretty dialed in, where, hey, I'm unloading here and I'm reloading here, they're doing a lot of the same loads every week. You might see that as low as 5. I'm sure there's companies that are probably as lower than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unload, reload at the same facility.
Yeah. 0. That's everyone's dream. Flatbed's a little bit more.
I honestly, I don't know if there is a standard.
Nope.
10 is what we go by.
And it works for us.
It works for us.
It might be 15 and we might be killing it, or it might be 5 and we might be
Leaving money on the table.
Yeah, we might be. But then you get into the specialized stuff where it's not uncommon where, hey, I need this specialized trailer to be down in South Dakota for that specialized shipment, or not down in South Dakota, over in South Dakota. And we don't have a load going out there. We better send it.
Yep.
So you might be deadheading 50% on the load because that load may be coming back to Wisconsin.
And don't get us wrong. I mean, when you quote that project,
You price it that way.
You price it that way, but that's just a gauge that we use.
Yep.
So
Awesome.
there we covered a couple in that.
Yeah.
A couple definitions.
And as we were talking about that, I did have one submission from last week that I just thought of. And it came from John. How would you define a professional truck driver?
I think we could look it up in a dictionary and use professional for anything.
Yep.
Professional basketball player, professional doctor, whatever.
I think those are just doctors.
It's nice,
just saying.
it's great doing this with you. So, to me, a professional driver would be someone who takes pride in their profession, who walks the walk, talks the talk, dresses the part. I'm dressed in shorts today. I had surgery and I can't wear long pants, but I would never, in the flatbed world, I would never wear a pair of shorts and consider myself professional. Maybe in a different trucking field, yes. But if you look back here, like this guy, I don't know if you can see him, but work boots, jeans, he's got a vest on, flannel shirt, hat. I mean, that is your stereotypical old school truck driver.
Yep.
And a lot of guys.
That's when people were proud to be truck drivers.
Yeah. I remember looking up to my dad and to other drivers, like these guys are, when I was a kid, they were cool.
Yep.
They're still cool, but some of that is probably gone these days, but we try to reinforce that. We may be a little more casual with a sweatshirt, but still with our company name on it.
Yep.
I don't know if that answers the question, professional, but pride in what you do, and knowledgeable.
Yeah, I would say knowledgeable, but also willing to learn.
Absolutely.
Because just like everything, someone can do it better, and there is someone out there doing it better. But
engaged.
If you're willing to learn or provide ideas or go the extra mile, do those things, that's what a professional is. Mm-hmm. I read a book, and it doesn't relate to this, but I read a book one time, and it said something on, you'll know who your professional employees are by who's here on Saturday. And in a truck, that's not the same concept. But the guys that are here, one guy that really stands out to me, we have an owner-operator in our fleet. Everything comes in perfect, immaculate. Paperwork, numbers are in the same spot every week. Things are paper-clipped. It may take him an extra half an hour to do those things, but he does it every week.
Clean and orderly.
Clean. His truck is clean. He's clean-shaven. Always dressed to do the part.
Go grab that paper off that clipboard. Off that
This one.
board once, yeah. I don't know if it's got professional on it, but there's 10 things. I've got these hanging up all over the office. 10 things that require zero talent.
And these are plastered throughout our office, and they're not really our guidelines, but everyone kind of lives by them.
Again, they require zero talent. Number one, being on time. Don't be late. And being on time to you and being on time to me may be two different things. Excuse me. But don't be late.
Yep.
Work ethic, effort, body language, energy, attitude, passion, being coachable, doing extra, and being prepared. Whether those make you professional, I don't know. Maybe we're getting off topic, but I think they're important, and they require zero talent. All you have to just do it.
Do it. It's no one can do those things for you.
Yeah.
They rely on you, and that does relate to a professional driver, in my opinion, because it's no different than a professional athlete. Look at, I'm not going to name drop anyone, but I am. Look at Le'Veon Bell. And Le'Veon Bell, who was the NFL's best running back for multiple years, got into it with his coach, but wasn't being coachable.
Yeah.
That's not professional. Mm-hmm. He sat for a year. Sat for Antonio Brown, same thing. Mm-hmm. Sat for years. And
the tail doesn't wag the dog.
Correct. And yes, they still have all the talent in the world, but that doesn't make them a professional athlete. I mean,
it doesn't make you a good teammate.
No, and people look up to the people that live values. Mm-hmm. So I guess we might have got a little off topic there, but I think it actually turned into...
We needed some filler.
Yeah, don't say that. I guess we're going to get right into kind of our first topic, which is not something that everyone, deals with in the trucking industry, but people from the Midwest for sure do, the upper East Coast, out west in the mountains, and that is trip planning / preparing / driving in winter months.
Adverse weather conditions.
Yeah. Quinn, I've heard some stories about you being stranded places.
I think everybody, if you've been around long enough, has been stranded at some point. One thing that comes to mind, I was stranded in Upper Michigan. I had a cell phone, but it was in the early days of, I'm old.
Did that have
so-
snake on it? Like,
Yeah, it was a bag phone. And I didn't have any service. I was up in the hills, and truck broke down, couldn't get it to run. And I sat there for about 5 or 6 hours, about 10 degrees, until I couldn't really walk anywhere. It was snowing, and there was nowhere to go, so I just had to wait for somebody. So those things happen, and if you can... I had tools with me before I get into this, but if you can help yourself by preparing for those situations, you got a better chance at survival, and
or making it to the point where someone can
help you.
Yeah.
So I guess just some things off the top of our heads that we should always have. That situation: warm clothes,
Yep.
blankets,
Gloves, hats.
boots, candle. It used to be candles. Keep yourself warm. What? You're gonna pick on my boots?
I'm not. I was going to, but I'm not. I can't. They're really nice.
Winter boots. So maybe some food.
Yeah.
Bottles of water, but don't let it sit in your truck overnight if you're not going to be in there and it's going to freeze.
Yep.
So the necessities. I mean, that's common sense. You should have that in your car. You should have that in your truck. Carry that stuff with you. Don't leave yourself.
Yeah.
Don't set yourself up.
I mean-
for failure.
I drive an old car, but in the winter I throw a thing of hand warmers in there just in case my car does go down. You never know. I'm not handy by any means, but I know enough that if I called someone, someone could talk me through it. You're digging around or under the hood or whatever, and your hands are frozen. You can hop back in the truck if your car doesn't turn on, and then at least you're a little bit warm.
Right. As far as equipment, tools, I guess that I always carry with me. In the winter, for sure, I always have a propane torch.
What do you use that for, or what would you use
Yeah,
that for?
multiple things. So you got a frozen brake.
Yep.
You defrost the ice. You got a valve that's frozen. You can melt the ice and snow out of that. A frozen door lock. There's anything that gets frozen, you can obviously melt. Warm your fingers up.
Yep.
Start a fire if it came to that. But I always have a propane torch.
Okay.
A lot of guys carry cat litter, a bag of cat litter. What are you going to do with cat litter? Well, some guys may have a shovel too. If you get
Yep.
stuck in the snow, you can shovel out. But maybe you're stuck on ice.
Yep.
Throw the cat litter under there. It acts like sand or salt. Gives you some traction. Hopefully, get you unstuck.
If you're a reefer driver, we really don't do that. But one tip that I've heard is the loading mats that they use to put the pallets on inside your trailer.
Mm-hmm.
If you have extra ones of those, you can throw them under your tires, and that'll grab some traction for you. I've never done that. I don't know if you
can
ever
throw
have.
chains or tire chains. Just throw
Anything.
them under it and
Yep.
run on them.
Yep. Just anything to help get a little bit traction going, because once you get it going, you can
Yep.
get it out.
I always carry I've got a Leatherman, like a multi-use tool, but I mean a set of pliers,
Yep.
set of screwdrivers, and it doesn't have to be anything extravagant.
Cheapo from
You're not
Harbor
going to
Freight.
use them that much, but if you invest $30, it could save you. We used to carry fuel filters and stuff. I guess we don't really get into that situation anymore. I think we haven't had to change any on the road recently. But the pliers, the multi-use tool, also a pair of vice grips. I like the vice grips that some of them are curved, but I like the flat ones. I'm not recommending this, but you could pinch off an airline if you had an air leak to not continue your trip, but get you out of a bad situation, get you to safety. It could could pinch your airline off and cage your brake or whatever you needed to do. I have a set of Torx, which is just instead of they're like a driver bit. A lot of the dashes have Torx bits or Torx screws in them instead of a Phillips or a straight head. That way you could take the dash apart if you needed to. Fuses are a necessity.
The newer trucks, maybe some extra def in case you do get stranded and you're low.
Yep.
Fuel treatment.
Absolutely.
Definitely in the winter.
Yep.
I'm trying to think anything else. I'm sure we missed a
I mean,
bunch.
you've always got to carry your fluids, your oils, your coolants, in the winter, carry more washer fluid.
Yeah.
You're going to go through it.
In this day and age, maybe like a little battery backup, like not a backup, I shouldn't say, but like a portable battery where at least you could get another charge or two on your cell phone or a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's the world we live in,
Yep.
but those kind of little things are always nice.
Mm-hmm. My dad used to carry, so the old steel wheels used to have a huge, I guess, hole in the rim, and I remember making them up with him. He would take a link of chain and attach it to a seatbelt, and then you could take that seatbelt and put it through the hole in the rim, and you could use that as a chain to get out.
Okay.
It's a little more difficult on today's wheels, but anything you can think of, it's not. There's no bad ideas when it comes to pre-planning and helping yourself out for safety.
I guess while we're on that topic too, if you guys have any ideas or any little tricks that you guys share or have, feel free to share them with us.
That'd be great.
We'll definitely pass them on to every one of our drivers. Someone may use it. It might save someone's life. It literally could.
I've got a story. One of our drivers 3 years ago went to Alaska. I don't remember the temperature. I don't remember exact details, but it was cold, and he froze up. And he must have been in the middle of Canada at this point on his way to Alaska, and there were no service people, and he had to fend for himself. And I remember he called John, and they were working through stuff, and I think it was John's idea. I don't remember, but what happened was he had a coffee pot, and he heated up his water in a coffee pot, and he dumped it on his valves and his air lines, and it thawed out whatever was frozen, and then he was able to run.
I've heard some other stories, and I don't know if I'm on the same thing, but some guys run like rubbing alcohol through the airlines to help them.
Isopropyl.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, and they have airline antifreeze.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know. They used to say that was hard on the valves for trailer valves and stuff. I don't know. John would be able to talk to that more.
Yeah.
I think if you are in a position where you need to do something, you do whatever you can.
You can replace equipment.
Yep. How about another thing that is nice to have is lock deicer. Just for your obviously your truck doors, but your cab doors, possibly if you have boxes or something.
Yeah. If you're pulling a reefer van.
You got your lock. So
probably hit on that pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just off the top of our head. That's what I've always carried.
It's better to be overprepared than underprepared. I'd much rather pack something that I might need rather than not pack it because I might not need it.
And there's a limit to that to some extent. But yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And when you're in those situations, you do what you have to do.
Okay, let's take this another step. What do you do? We live in Wisconsin. The weather changes. It could be 80 one day, snow the next, and then 40 the next day.
Okay.
It's happened. But what do you do when, hey, it's Friday or Saturday, and I got to leave out on Sunday, and I know there's going to be weather? Walk me through what goes through your head in the event that we are possibly dealing with a snowstorm and you have to leave out.
From a driver's standpoint?
From a driver's standpoint.
Okay. So from a driver's standpoint, I'm watching.
Yep.
And
by watching, I'm assuming you mean the weather.
The weather, yeah, the news,
okay.
Phone apps, whatever that is. And then just gauging, hey, am I going to go to North Dakota? Is Minnesota shut down because the high winds and ice? Just being knowledgeable in that, I guess, is what I would do. And then if, hey, it's bad, leave early. Now, on the operation side, I would be in contact with my customer, say, hey, do you still want this truck? And in contact with the driver and working together because, I mean, we don't send trucks out if it's if you're in a bad situation. And
There's no
oversize, you
load.
can't.
Yeah. And there's no load that's more important than someone or someone's
Right.
life.
That's why when we go west, we carry chains. We're required to. We don't chain up unless we have to get off the road.
We're stuck in a situation where the only possible way is to chain up to get off the mountain.
Yeah. If you have to chain up,
You probably shouldn't be driving.
we don't want you driving.
Yeah.
No, guys do it all the time.
Yep. And there's going to be people out there that say it's perfectly safe, and you're right. It might be
It's just not worth it to us.
not worth it to us. When you are driving and the weather does turn like crap, what do you do as far as like dealing with other motorists on the road as a driver?
Or if I'm on the road.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the road, I'm calling in to the office and saying,
Yep.
hey, here's what I'm seeing. What am I up, do I have to get there? The answer is always no, you don't
Yep.
have to get there. But if weather's coming in and it's already bad, I mean, I had this situation a couple weeks back when I was coming back from Minnesota, and it was bad. And
That was like October.
yeah, it was early.
Yeah.
And
Unexpected.
I couldn't see. There was nothing plowed. I stayed in Bonduel. I stayed an hour from home. Why? Because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It was not worth risking it.
For the people out there that don't really know what driving a semi entails, and me being one of them, you may have heard statistics of, hey, it takes X amount of time to stop a semi, or it might do this, or like reaction time and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I've driven semi. I have not been on the road nearly to the extent you have, or to any of the drivers. But I know just from driving around the yard or around the block or dropping them off here or there that stopping time is way different. And when you add in rain or snow
And
or
weight.
or anything, it only can be multiplied.
Yeah, and they have RSD brakes now, which is reduced stopping distance. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes along with that. I don't know the
Me either.
stopping times or distances, but it's not like stopping your car.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
It's the guy behind the wheel of a semi doesn't want to hit you just as much as you don't want to cause an accident.
Mm-hmm.
No one wakes up in the morning to have an accident.
Right.
I can tell you that. Got anything else?
I think that's about it. Again, if you guys have any feedback on what we just talked about,
let us
ideas, tips, other things, hey, I carry whatever, a cigarette lighter because I do this with it.
Yep.
Whatever. I'd like to know.
Some MacGyver stuff.
There you go. So I think with that, it pretty much covers it for today.
Yeah.
You can take us
Take
through
us
the end.
through the outro.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Hope it helped in at least some way or another. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure to subscribe. Do whatever you can. We really appreciate that. It really helps us. Helps us feel better about ourselves, I guess you'd say. But yeah, so thank you for that. Make sure to send in your answers to our questions if you have, or our contest. If you have any questions, let us know. And then also a little kicker here is if you did listen and you are a new subscriber, you will be entered in for a new weekly drawing. So anytime a new subscriber is entered, weekly drawing, stocking cap, baseball hat, something like that.
Sure.
So make sure to subscribe. Thank you for listening. And
Again, you want the question one more time?
Yeah.
Which natural disaster did Quick Transport drivers deliver to a couple years ago?
Be sure to message our Quick Transport Facebook page with your answer. Like and share our podcast. And make sure to give us some feedback, guys. Thank you very much and have a good week.
Yeah. See you next time.